Hi, how are you? I couldn't help but getting on the internet today to make this video, and I'll tell you why. I saw from one of these, TV, not TV, internet explanation things, uh, and it talks about the evangelical preacher, Raphael Cruz. Uh, he's the father of the Tea Party star. I'm sorry. I gotta laugh. The senator from Texas, Ted Cruz. I call him Little Fidel Castro. It's kind of like an offhanded way of saying he's a bit of an asshole. I'm sorry, my language. I woke up in a funny state of mind today. I'm not myself, so, whatever I say, please don't hold it against me. Some of this stuff is getting downright extremely funny. But in any case, Mr. Rafael Cruz, by the way, he's an evangelical preacher, which I find amazing, because the things that come out of his mouth are little to do with evangelism. But anyway, he says that, and this is quoting a sermon he gave the other day at some crazy church, that most Hispanics, if they were informed and not deceived, that they would be Republicans. And, I. I read that and I think, this man must think that all the Mexican people, Salvadorans, Nicaraguans, Colombians, whatever have you, in this American chicken soup, gumbo is a better word, but, he's implying that they are completely ignorant, stupid, foolish, and willingly want to suffer like the folks in the red states, because that's where you find that brand of ignorance and stupidity, where you can actually go to Alabama and Mississippi and find people who glorify suffering, even to the point of passing it down to their families. Because, they were convicted by the old plantation owners of old when they lost the slavery bit. They decided they would have to find another way to outfox uh, the people of the South, and they did this by brainwashing them, and they remain that brainwashed today, where they glorify the opportunity to work, even if it's at slavery wages, and they think there is something stout and wonderful and enriching to their soul if they willingly accept and complete this brand of suffering. So it's a real sick society, and that's why Republicans survive and actually can flourish in the red states in the South, because over the last couple of 100 years, they've managed to brainwash these people into believing that there's glory in suffering, especially when it's related to your work and your hard labor. So, there's no other way to explain it except but to call it a phenomena. And the reason the red states are Republican is a phenomena. That's exactly the right and correct word for it. But in any case, back to Raphael. He's an amazing guy. He says that God ordains the death penalty. In fact, he says, go to Genesis chapter 9, blah, 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 and, God ordains. Well, why is he quoting Genesis? God speaks to him daily. I've heard him say it. God told him his son, Teddy Fidel Jr., was going to be president of the United States. Now, I've heard him say this on national television. Okay, and that's verbatim, word for word. Okay, so Why is he relying on Genesis if he can speak from the horse's mouth, so to speak? Um, these guys, let me tell you, they take the Bible, okay, and they take any book and do the same thing, you know. Uh, but it's malleable to them. To them, it's not a book with any strict uh, tenets, you might say. It's a book to be mangled and stretched and pull this way and pull that way. And this is what they do to Christianity. See, the Bible also says that were there not a God or a religion, that man would invent one. Well, they've done this, and in fact, all over the globe, man invents religions. Down in Haiti, you have some of the voodoo, but you have voodoo everywhere in Cuba, and now Santeria, that Cuban form of voodoo, is widespread in Mexico. And by the way, I think Santeria was Fidel Castro's communist little empire over on that island, was his biggest export. Wasn't communism to Central and South America. His biggest export to Central and South America was Santeria. And I've been considering or wondering if Santeria would do the Republican Party any good. I'm sorry. Like I told you, today I am not feeling like myself. So, but anyway, no, really, I mean, no, not really. No, Santeria and the Republican Party, no. In fact, things could get much worse. But in any case, Raphael goes on to say, not only would the Republican way of seeing things be good for Hispanics, but he goes on to say that, he says, in fact, this is word for word. Let's talk about the black population, he says. All the civil rights that the Africans have obtained come from Republicans, True said. But but he goes on to say, excuse me, but you know what? Democrats took the credit. Now, you talk about an evangelical preacher who knows nothing but lying, okay? Because I've never heard a Democrat say a Democrat was Abraham Lincoln, who largely led the way to the Emancipation Proclamation and thereafter the common sense that no man should own another man. Now, I want to point something out to you. Most of the plantation owners were Christians in name. They had no problems with slavery. You see the problem with people when they're trying to apply a spiritual way of life to their earthly walk through this earth? It doesn't work. You can't take spiritual principles, okay, and apply them wholesale to the general population and make them such convincing methodologies for living in this world that they will make any sense. And, a case in point is that taken completely out of context, if I'm, the old Michelle Bachmann thing, if a man, she's reading it from a book, really, she's reading it says here, if a man does not work, I'm telling you, she did it just like this. She's peering down and he should not work. I mean, when I think that this woman, never mind. I'm just, it'll drive me nuts, crazy. I know. I just think that she was a member of the Intelligence Committee, in Congress. Man, that doesn't even sound like a bad joke. That sounds like catastrophe, disaster. But this is politics. This is politics, and in particular, let me point something out. Morons like her gain political office because guess what? Much of the voter population is made up of complete idiots. In fact, to a great many of them, you just mentioned how much you love God. He's my man. I'm voting for him. And if a woman does it, it's the same thing. Look at the people who are following Sarah Palin. Do you think these people have a brain? No, they don't have a brain. They're living in La La Land. They're living in the La La Land. You know, they're living in the La La Land of trying to work their way into heaven. See, this is the psychology behind all this homegrown stupidity, that they think, you know, that they're fooling God, and God doesn't really know what evil trash they are and how they prefer hurting others than helping them. And that's at the core of their beliefs, by the way, because actions speak louder than words. You see what I mean? But anyway, that's what that moron Rafael, whatever the hell his name is, Cruz, you know. I'll tell you something. Fidel Castro said that one day he would do something really bad to America. He's always had these fantasies that, you know, he identifies with God, apparently, because if actions do speak louder than words, well, then Fidel identifies with God, and he thinks he's God, and, you know, but in any case, he's going to do this really bad thing to America, and he has. It's his fault. He's responsible for Ted Cruz and his dad and all those other cocoa maniacs who think they're doing something brave about, think they're doing something good with all this, I'm my own man, and I built it myself, and all this stuff is Cuban, much of it, at least when it comes to the cruises, is Cuban-inspired nonsense, which is the same trash that they use to rule the Cuban peasants. Serfs they were in Cuba. These are the same people responsible for the Castro revolution, because if you do not create insane, oppressive financial instruments, these things, these revolutions are not necessary, and so they never occur. You see what I'm saying? So, in the guise of being good and holy rolling and all that crapola, what they are is evil, and they're making the world a much worse place to live in. You see, these guys open the doors for tyrants. They opened the door for the people like Fidel, who then come in like a Genghis Khan or Attila the Hun and crucify their little world wholesale. You don't believe me? See Cuba. See the hunger in Cuba. Is this what you want for America? Ted Cruz styled economics, the same economics that brought on Fidel Castro. I want to tell you something. Fidel Castro, many years ago, in an interview, and I read it on the National Magazine many years ago, Fidel Castro said that democracy fails too. That's verbatim, word for word. That's what he said. Democracy fails too. Democracy also fails is another way to say it. And you know, he is absolutely right. What he forgot to mention is that democracy fails because of the lack of democratic principles in action. And what I mean by that is the vote. You cannot tarnish the vote. You cannot pick and choose who you want to be your voter. From the dumbest to the smartest, every human individual deserves the right to their vote. Why not? They're here too. I'm of the opinion that even if you're not a citizen and you're living here long enough, in some way you inherit the right to an opinion. Under the guise of love and Christian and God and country and the right to bear submachine guns and all this other cockamamie bullshit. Excuse my French. I don't think that's French at all. As a matter of fact, I think bullshit is American. Sorry. Didn't mean to say that. But anyway, do you get my drift? You see? These guys do not believe in the American way of life. If you believe in America and if you believe in democracy, you must believe in the one vote, one woman, one man doctrine. You have to believe that. And if that is not in your core, and if that is not in your heart, you are not an American. You do not admire democracy. And in fact, you have no faith that democracy is the best way to rule in the history of the world. And it's irreplaceable when it comes, true democracy is irreplaceable when it comes to true government by the people. So let's tell these Republican, Christian, conservative, all these other con artists and bullshit artists to go away. And how you do this? With a vote. Vote them out of office and don't believe their bull crap about their, well, I don't want to go into that, but I'll go into that in the future. And what I'm thinking of is the corporate welfare nonsense. Help corporations, help the rich get richer, the stockholders, and put the poor and the middle class under your foot. Stupid. Absolutely stupid. They're haters. They're not lovers. They're haters. In any case, that's all I have to say, and it's probably all you have time to listen to. I wish you the best. Please buy my books. My name is Rene Abril, A-B-R-I-L. By the way, I am from the island of Cuba, and my books can be found on just about all the ebook sites, paperback on Amazon.com, and so on and so forth. And you can go to my author page. Again, my name is Rene Abril. Thank you, and thank you for listening. Pay attention, really. Fair is fair. This is not democracy. What they're practicing is totalitarian stupidity. Thanks, and hey, have a great day. In spite of it all, there really is a God. Thank you.